Hello, you guys. Hi. Hi, everyone. How you guys doing? I hope everyone is doing good. I come in peace. My name is Natalie, and this is the Keep It Segments podcast. Okay, so for today's episode, I believe episode number 4. For today's episode, I have about 5 topics. I want to announce quickly that sometimes you might hear like a click and it sounds like I stopped recording. That is because a lot of airplanes pass by my house. I live close to an airport. So just mentioning that. I did mention that in the very first episode. I was actually really upset. And I even said I'm gonna like try to put them out of business. But I don't even have the energy for all that right now. But just letting you guys know, if you guys do hear like it almost sounds like I paused, it's because an airplane is passing. All right. Other than that though, I'm going to go right ahead and jump into the topics. Topic number 1. Okay, this is topic number 1. It's sort of like a mental thing. Have you guys heard of, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have heard when someone says, "Oh, I don't care what people think." I think it's okay to sometimes, I think it's important to not be so concerned with what other people might think, because maybe not everyone is going to support you. And if something that you're doing truly makes you happy, but let's say for example, the people around you, maybe your family members or maybe your friends, they don't seem to really support you. Maybe in that sense, you might think to yourself, you know what? I don't care what you guys think. I have heard that phrase, that mental thing, that like that sort of thinking does has came up a few times in my lifetime. I'm in my 20s. I just want to say that I think sometimes you have to be careful with that, because I think that when you allow one thought to enter your brain and you accept it as like a reality, or you accept it as a reality, you start to think this is how I have to think, and it sits there in your brain, it affects your mood. You know what I'm saying? So I started to think, am I possibly shutting down and not allowing myself to happily connect to other people because somewhere down the line when I was younger, I started to think, oh, you know what? I don't care what people think. I don't care what people think. Life at times is very theatrical. If you do have to protect yourself, if people are being like very judgmental, or you have had experiences where people have judged you pretty harshly, or maybe people kind of picked on you for certain reasons, I do think that it's smart to dust it off and, in a sense, don't care if what people have to say about you. But you kind of have to, it's kind of like a little trick. Sometimes you have to care, because I honestly think that if you always walk around not caring what other people think about you, you're pretty much limiting or completely shutting down any possibilities of connecting with other people. So that crossed my mind, and I thought I would share for the podcast. So that was number 1. Pretty much knowing when we should allow criticism, or knowing basically when we should be a little bit more welcoming towards people and not allow past negative comments still affect us to this day. being aware of how certain thoughts can affect our mood and that sort of thing. So that is number one. Number two, number two is this becoming more of my reality, and that is I just want to be at home a lot more these days. I just want to be at home a lot more these days. I remember around when COVID, a little bit before COVID, and even still in the beginning of COVID, I remember I still wanted to go out. I had quite a few things that were happening to me before COVID. I had like a very weird scenario where I was in a relationship and I was not happy. So then when I exited that relationship, I was like, I want to go out and live my life. But then COVID happened. How like COVID was happening, I still had so much energy for some reason. Like I had so much energy. I don't know. It's so weird because I literally felt like I had so much energy and I don't know why. However, now I'm getting closer to my 30s. I'm close to hitting 30. And honestly, being at home and is like it for me. So I am welcoming more the idea of work, and then after work, just coming straight to the house, maybe going outside once in a while for some fresh air and some exercise, and possibly getting into something like a movie or something, some sort of entertainment. But being at home is pivotal to me right now. Like this year, 2023, has been life changing because I don't want to go anywhere anymore. I just want to be at the house, truthfully. And I thought that would be worth mentioning here in the podcast because I was wondering to myself, are other people also experiencing this? People who were born like in the 90s, maybe, yeah, people who were born in their 90s and are now getting closer to their 30s. Are you guys also experiencing this? Like you just want to stay at the house pretty much, and it's like being at home is the thing, you know? Because that's how I've been feeling myself. So I was thinking, are other people also feeling this way? Is it like something that has to do with age? And it's just something that comes with age? Okay, so that was number two. That's the second segment. Second segment, again, recaps, summary. Basically, wanting to be home more, becoming more of a homebody, most likely because this is gonna pop up later on, but most likely you are wanting to be more at home because you value safety so much. So safety is like number one. So that's why you most likely want to be home more. That's how I feel. Okay, so that was number two. Number three, I think also has to do with like age. Everyone has, I feel like everyone has a different experience though. So I don't want to come off as disrespectful. Never, never, never. However, I never want to come off as disrespectful. Number three, though, this topic, number three, is about the people who haven't had kids. I am myself one of those people who I don't have kids yet. And sometimes I'd be wondering, like, mention like the people who don't have kids, maybe you guys can relate to this. So these are pretty much my thoughts. I think everyone has different experiences. Why? I don't really know. However, I do think that at the end, like a fact, like an FACT, is that everyone does experience different things. So I am becoming more aware that having kids is not at the very top of it's not at the top of my list of priorities. Also, Also, I sometimes I can't help but compare myself and acknowledge other people who had kids right after high school. That wasn't the case though with myself, probably because I was focused on other things. Perhaps I have a pretty long work experience history. I feel like for a long time work has been like the center of my life. Again, now that I have become older, having kids is not at the top of my priorities though. So, yeah, as I've gotten older, I'm realizing, I just realized it that I literally just realized this like a few days ago. I was talking to someone and I started to realize that I was so vulnerable. And for such a for like a good while, for a good couple of months, I was literally going to work and I'm gonna be honest, I would go to work and I would like become emotional when I would see this one gentleman, this one guy. And I was becoming a little frustrated with myself because I was like, why am I so emotional? I couldn't even get a good look at this guy. Like, we were working in the same area, but not the same department. So sometimes I would see him from a distance, and I don't know why. I would legitimately like I was so interested in him for I don't know why. So, like I said, I would get upset with myself because I was like, what is going on? Like, what is it with this guy? Like, what is going on? I couldn't get to the bottom of it. My point though is later on I ended up actually communicating with someone else, and I realized that I think what I ultimately just really wanted to do was just hang out and chit chat and mingle with someone, because once I did that, the whole pressure, all this pressure of like of a society role, like am I supposed to like prepare myself to have kids right now? I actually explained this to the guy that I was speaking to. I was like, honestly, I've been stressing out. I've been thinking to myself, like, am I supposed to prepare to have kids and that sort of thing? And after talking to him, and realizing like where I am in my life, and honestly, after expressing with the guy all of these things that I was going through mentally, like all of the things that I had been thinking about that were making me quite emotional, which were, am I supposed to like get ready to have a kid sometime soon? Like, is that the normal thing that I'm supposed to be doing? After explaining that, after having that conversation with him, and also seeing other people who have kids, like one of my family members, hanging out with her, and just analyzing everything around me, like seeing other people who have kids, and because they're around me, it's like some of my family members have kids, and it's that sort of thing. After really like analyzing it, and after really realizing it and expressing myself to that guy about, I was worried about like, when is it going to happen to me, because I feel like that's the normal thing and I feel like I should be doing it. So it's like I was pressuring myself pretty much and stressing myself out because I don't have kids yet. And I was thinking, but I should have kids yet because everyone has kids yet. I mean, everyone has kids already. So after I got that off my chest, I actually felt a lot better. And it was very, very strange. It was almost like, it was so strange to me. I don't know what it was, but literally after getting all of that off my chest, I felt better. And after just hanging out with that guy, and communicating with him, I realized, so after hanging out with the guy and explaining all of this to him and pretty much I think just enjoying his presence. I felt a few days later, I felt a lot better, and I felt like, you know what, I don't even like having kids is not at the top of my list of priorities. It really isn't. I think that I was in a vulnerable and confused and naive, like not experienced, because all I was doing was working, 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 and I wasn't really hanging out with anyone. Like as soon as I would get off work, I would come to my house and I would like hang out with my dogs, and that was pretty much it. I was really not having any social. I was not really being social with anyone besides my one of my family members. So there was like no intimacy, like no romantic intimacy or anything like that at all. So I think in my mind, I was just curious, and I was thinking to myself, I should be doing that because other people are doing it. But then once I did it, once I hung out with the guy and I started to like communicate with him and hang out with him, and I mentioned those things to him, I basically realized that I don't feel anxiety about it anymore. I actually feel like it's, again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I feel like having kids is not at the top of my list of priorities. Like I'm not I'm not in a rush at all. At all. Like I don't feel like I'm missing out. Yeah. So that's number 3. Again, I'm in my 20s. I don't know if other people might be able to relate to this. I do think it's interesting how like some people they have kids like right after high school. Some people have kids. Some people my age already have kids and that sort of thing. I do see that that is happening. I don't want to I don't want to sit here and criticize others, but the reality is I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm making a decision, and I'm clarifying my thoughts and emotions. I don't want to identify as a mother anytime soon. And interestingly, like I mentioned earlier, I was wondering if other people felt the same. And I didn't look up on the internet. I wasn't like doing any research. Out of nowhere, this like this reel popped up on my IG, and it was a reel. It was supposed to be like comedy. It was a jiffy of Barack Obama, and the caption was, when women realize that having kids is not really as cool. And then it was Barack Obama basically speaking. They realized that there was more risk than there was benefits. And that was the whole reel. And then a whole bunch of people started commenting on it. And I'll show the screenshots here. So there was my favorite screenshot, I think, would be I saw a lot of comments. A lot of comments were made, like so many comments were made. My favorite one probably was, wanting kids is not enough reason to have kids. Most people are not even emotionally stable enough to handle themselves and then pass on their trauma and insecurities to their children. No, thank you. It's not for me. This bloodline dies with me. So that was one screenshot that I took of a comment that was made. It is so weird because I was so emotional about this topic, and literally after just literally hanging out with someone and talking to him, I was able to feel better afterwards. And I'm like, wow, I don't feel like I'm missing out. Yeah, so it was literally like it amazed me how just by hanging out with someone and talking to them, I was able to then feel better. And like I said, I don't feel like I'm missing out. I'm not saying that I don't ever want kids, but I'm saying I was so vulnerable And it's so crazy how vulnerability can make you feel. Like vulnerability and just not even being experienced. It might be something else that you need, because that was my situation. I think that I just needed to get out and be in a different headspace and hang out with someone and have, open conversations about these sort of deep things. Because after I hung out with that guy and I was open to him about all the things that I was thinking, I felt a lot better. And I've other people who have kids, they've talked to me and I've gotten their opinion, and ultimately it's just really really bizarre how emotions can manipulate you and kind of almost betray you. Sometimes emotions literally seem like they can betray you because they will be so intense and they will like have you literally feeling this type of way, but then you'll go through something. You'll either have a conversation with someone or you'll hang out with someone and you'll catch up with them and you go on to venting. You'll go and you'll vent to this person, and literally after getting all of your thoughts out, you realize you feel better. And whatever was bothering you, it's like you have a whole different different viewpoint on the situation. Like I was saying, when I hung out with the guy, I was telling him how I was feeling pressured because I'm in my late 20s and I'm thinking to myself, am I supposed to like prepare myself to have children? Like is that what life is about, and that sort of thing. And basically hearing from people who already have kids, after speaking with them, taking everything that they said into consideration, I I started to think like, wow, I don't know what I was thinking. Like I'm not signing up for this. Like I'm not ready for this at all. I think that I think that having a child, having a family is a very serious thing. Like it is serious. It's not to be taken lightly. There is a saying that kids end up paying for their parents' mistakes. There's things, there's talks and phrases that sound like that I have heard. And yeah, it's a very serious thing. You need money to raise a family. So if I don't have a lot of money, it wouldn't make sense for me to try to go get pregnant. Like that doesn't make sense. So yeah, so that was segment number 3, not having kids and being totally okay with that. Vulnerability definitely snuck up on me and had me in my feelings, had me confused. But after just speaking on the topic a little bit more and hearing from people who do have kids, I was like, okay, never mind. I'm not really missing out. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not missing out here. Like I said, you also need money. You need money to raise a family. So if I don't have my money right, I have no business I have no business getting pregnant. That just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, so that was segment number 3. I'm going on now to segment number 4. Segment number 4 is also connected to what is on your list of priorities. Number 4 has to do with safety. So one thing that I have noticed is at the top of the list of importance is a feeling of safety in my neighborhood or city. That also has to do with raising a family, right? If you're not really aware of what's going on in your city, in your neighborhood, how can you bring a child into the world if you don't feel like the world is safe? So, but anyways, with that said, I'm not sure if one day I might want to be part of an organization. Maybe an organization that deals with tasks that benefit the people of LA. That's part of the county that I am part of, is the Los Angeles County. I might one day want to look into being part of an organization that takes care of important tasks that concern the people of the LA County. So, like I mentioned earlier, I have I have been going through like these emotions of really feeling like safety is important. I want to stay at the house more. I just want to make sure that I'm taking care of my responsibilities. That I'm financially stable. So it's pretty simple. I'm not trying to do a lot these days. One thing for sure is I want to be safe where I live, or when I step outside, I want to make sure that I feel safe. So that is definitely something that is very, like, I'm concerned about that. I want to make sure that where I am safe. There is a lot of, everyone seems to be doing their own thing. Everyone has goals. Everyone has plans that they're setting for themselves. I think that it's important for a couple of people to like look out for everyone else, to maybe set up some type of plan so that certain resources become available so people can benefit from them if they need them. Like it's like we kind of all have to work in a group. Like if majority of the people are working on acting, and there's actresses and there's actors, and then other people, another majority of the group, they seem to be doing things, their careers have to do with like computer or with engineering or medicine, or they work with cargo, so they're like driving big trucks from state to state. Like everyone has something that they're doing with themselves. Everyone is pretty busy nowadays. So just feeling like, am I safe, has been something that I have felt deep these days. So I don't know, maybe later on in the future I might look deeper into what kind of programs are being offered in the LA County, any plans that are being worked on that then will be available to the public, things of that sort. I do need to do more research on that, because safety is at the top of my list of concerns, of priorities. I need to make sure that I'm looking out for myself. Straight up. Okay, so that was number 4. Number 5 is a skill that I think y'all can benefit. If anyone here listening is looking for a job, maybe wants to make a certain goal, wants to make a certain amount of income. If you're looking for a job, and okay, think about the city where you live. Think about the city where you live. Think about the city, and what are like the main industries or the main fields that you feel you are getting from your city. So think about the fields, the careers that you are picking up from the city where you are at. Perhaps the city where you live, maybe you see a lot of tech buildings. So maybe working in the tech field comes to mind. Or maybe in the city where you live, there's a big area in the downtown area where there's a lot of restaurants. So the food industry is always popular. So what are the things that come to mind when you think about your city? What do you feel like your city is carrying? What do you feel like it's representing as far as careers, as far as work fields? You might want to write this down and see if anything resonates with you. See if anything speaks to you. If you like one field more than the other, maybe your city again has a lot of tech buildings. There's a lot of So I was doing this, and I feel like when you think about the city you are living in, you're thinking about it, right? You're analyzing it. You get a piece of paper and a pencil and you write down again, what are the fields, what are the things that stick out to you from the city? Los Angeles County, obviously Hollywood. What else? I feel like there's so many businesses here. Besides Hollywood, I feel like Los Angeles County has multiple businesses. They could be small, they could be large, but this area is like for sure entrepreneur. There's like so many businesses. So I was thinking to myself, would I want to one day open up my own business, or do I want to go work for a business? It definitely also helped me feel more connected to the city, feel more connected to where I live, becoming more aware of the city where I live. So that is a little practice that I think could be necessary if you are thinking about maybe a certain industry that you want to get into. So that's number 5. Side note to that, when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about the whole idea of working for a living. You guys have probably heard that, right? Working for a living. So this brought a very important skill idea, and that is choosing your words wisely is very important. Why do I say that choosing your words wisely is very important? Because of certain phrases. When you think about certain phrases like working for a living, certain phrases, the words that get used literally can make your life. Like they can be like choosing your words wisely. I'm really starting to think is like life changing. I'm going to put, just for a little small fun experiment, I'm going to put right now 2 words on the screen. So here's word number 1. And here's word number 2. Okay. These words have meanings. These are pretty intense words. I'm trying to emphasize how powerful some words can be. So if these 2 words have enough power, imagine how much power other words have in a sentence together. So most likely other words can do the same, right? Like literally, let's think for a second about other words, their meaning, right? Every word has a meaning. These meanings are important. Now, when these words get together and they form a sentence, probably twice as important, right? So you have probably heard of the phrase working for a living. Oh, I work for a living. What do you do for a living? What does that mean? It reminds me of the phrase, spend your time wisely. When I think of spending my time wisely, I think it's important to do things that I enjoy, because to me that's wise. If I'm gonna do whatever I'm doing in a day, I'm making, like, I actually think, am I enjoying this? Because if I'm like, part of my day, something that I find important is making sure that whatever I do, I like. So I'm actually like thinking to myself, am I going to enjoy that before I make a decision? So that's how I process the phrase spending my time wisely. So I'll think to myself, it's important to do things that I enjoy. And also learn about things that can benefit me. I think that's also wise. During my spare time, I want to make sure that I'm learning things that can benefit me. Working for a living is a pretty simple way to live safely. So this is where I started to get a little like obsessed with the phrase, because I started to like break it down and really analyze it. I'm going to repeat what I just said. Working for a living is a pretty simple way to live life. right? Let's think about it. Safety is a huge demand for myself, and I'm sure for others as well. So, if I value safety, I will most likely accept the idea of working for a living, because when you think about it, when I thought about it at least, working for a living is safer than a lot of other things, right? Working for a living, like if I'm working for a living, I'm like staying out of trouble, or I'm staying out of other people's way, you know? So it's definitely safer than a lot of things, right? Like selling drugs or anything like that. This was interesting to me. The money system, it seems like it's guaranteeing some sort of safety, because through jobs comes money, and that is the system. So like I said, I might have gotten a little carried away. Basically what I'm getting at though is working for a living, there's actually, like, it's a simple phrase. It sounds super simple, right? Oh, what do you do for a living? Or I work for a living. We hear those phrases all the time, right? They're very popular phrases. These phrases, they are blueprints to a lifestyle. So what comes with that lifestyle? Safety. Simple and it's safe. Maybe safety maybe safety was not considered, might have been overseen, but definitely when you think about the phrases like, oh, I work for a living, it involves a lifestyle. It is hinting towards a lifestyle, and that actually comes with some safety. So choosing your words wisely is a thing, and it is very important. Similar to the saying, it depends on how you look at it. Sometimes when you look at things with a certain point of view, you'll get knowledge of how things possibly work, of how they could work, right? If you simply just look at it from this perspective. I thought I'd mention phrases that are wise and could be life-changing. Learning for a living. So instead of working for a living, learning for a living, or staying busy for a living. Definitely recognizing that it's smart to do something for a living. Do something with your time. You might not right away get money, but developing a mindset that creates a map for how you should live your life is extremely, extremely important. So in other words, it's important because in the long run, it could benefit you to be stimulated about something, be eager about something. I'm just giving out examples here. Learning about the ecosystem or learning about the recycling system, whatever it is, you should find something that interests you and work on that, because our minds are fragile. Our minds, we're powerful people, but we are also sometimes fragile. So actually focusing on something is key nowadays. Is key because there's a lot of scary stuff happening out there. I think you guys get the picture. So you should find something that interests you and work on that, because truthfully, it seems like this is how it works. And this is a safe way for you to live. Not just you, but me too. This is truthfully a life hack. I started to analyze this a lot because of the saying, work for a living. So it got me thinking, I can replace the word work with anything. For example, dance for a living, or write for a living, like become a writer. And these things can actually become a profession/career. Do you see what I mean? So it all started with the phrase working for a living. That then led to choosing your words wisely. Choosing your words wisely because you could create something. You could create a whole lifestyle. you could create a whole lifestyle by just learning how to speak in a way that benefits you. Yes, so there it is. Choosing your words wisely. Choosing your words wisely. Sometimes I'll say something and then I'll think to myself, you know what? I don't really like how that sounds. What if I change a few words? And literally, just by changing a few words, I feel different. It's it sounds a little silly. I'm even laughing about it, but everything, almost everything has to do with thought. Your thought, your thoughts then create a mindset. If you gather a whole bunch of thoughts, you're going to create a mindset in your brain. That mindset is going to come with a mood. So, your thoughts are very powerful. Words are very powerful. All right, you guys, that was all the segments for this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the 5 segments for this episode. We have reached the end of this video. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment in the comments section if you want. Okay, for now, that's it. Have a wonderful day or night. Bye for now. Bye, 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 bye.